Good morning. All right, y'all. My name is Deborah Smith. I am the owner of DD Logistics, a women owned small business, freight broker business. This morning, we're actually going to talk about a topic that is very popular in the industry today, which is self driving trucks. This is actually a topic that we're going to talk about some pros and cons. We're going to do that first before we do anything. And mm, Biscoff coffee. She don't need this. Wow. Anyways, good morning. Deborah Smith. I am the owner of DD Logistics, a freight broker business, women owned small business. So, this morning, what we're going to talk about is our self driving trucks. That's my topic. Self driving trucks and how they are going to grow the economy and also hurt the economy. So, we're going to talk about pros and cons. First, I want to talk about cons because I am having a very hard time believing that self driving trucks are going to make the economy flourish. I don't see that coming into fruition. I also think that there's a couple things we're going to lose with self driving trucks. One, let's talk about some cons. Okay. First, we're going to have job losses. Job losses are going to be at an all time high when self driving trucks come into play. You're going to lose the human interaction. You're no longer going to have vehicles. You're no longer going to have drivers inside of vehicles, which is very detrimental to the economy. But what you will have is trucks that can go further in transit. Um, there was a self driving truck that was tested that went from LA all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, over 2,400 miles, and it was consistent, I believe, a 1 day trip. So you're going to be able to shorten up transit times. But what we're not going to be able to do, I believe, is get around this topic. A lot of self driving trucks in 2025 are still being tested on the highway. But what's going to happen is a lot of testing is going to happen in 2026, and it will become more apparent, real, and live that in the trucking industry, truck drivers are going to go obsolete. So one of the cons is job losses. That's one thing that we should be worried about because you're taking the truck driver out of the equation. If you think about it, that's also going to hinder interactions, which is building relationships with human beings. I really enjoy talking to drivers. I really enjoy being able to build relationships with them. And right now, you're going to be able to book freight by the click of a button. Shippers are going to love this. They're not going to love the pricing that it's going to bring to the market, but what they are going to love is how they don't have humans on the dock. A lot of shippers do not want guys on the dock. It's a high risk, hence why they hire lumber companies. So shippers are going to eat this up. Their freight is going to be able to move at a way faster pace. That is one thing that they're really going to love. That they're going to be able to get freight from here to there in a quicker amount of time. Because when you think about it, if you have a self-driving truck, you do not have to make multiple stops. A self-driving truck does not have to stop and use the bathroom. Self-driving truck does not have to stop and eat or fuel up. The battery is fully charged before the transit, and that is something that is going to help cut transit times in half. Could there be breakdown issues? Absolutely. Could a self-driving truck cut off at any moment and cause issues? Yes. Another thing is safety. For me, I do not think that it's safe for a self-driving truck to um, hold 40,000 pounds in freight. 40,000 pounds in freight without the ability to make a human decision, a human like decision, is extremely dangerous. I think that's why it takes so long to, test everything that they're currently testing, because putting self-driving trucks on the road without operators to me is dangerous. And They do say it increases efficiency, but one of the pros was that it improves safety. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that a self-driving truck can make a human-like decision to come out here on the highways, come out here on the streets, carry 38,000 to 40,000 pounds in freight, and you're telling me that it's a safe thing to do without human like judgment involved. So I don't believe that. DD Logistics, my company, has pivoted so much within from 2019 till now, but the pivot that I will have to make with self-driving trucks is going to be a major pivot. This is absolutely delicious. It's from a place in Buffalo, New York called Haley's. You know the Biscoff cookies? This is Biscoff, and so delicious. I'm gonna be going 90 miles an hour. I'm gonna be going 90 miles an hour. But so let's talk about so another one. We'll talk about a pro. Fuel efficiency. When you are charging these units, you're not really worried about fuel efficiency, which is a really good thing. When they're leaving the facility, these are already fully charged. Like I said, one of these units went from Los Angeles all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, 2,400-mile trip, minimal stopping. And to be honest with you, I don't think this self-driving truck stopped at all. At all. This thing went all the way through, fully battery charged, not one stop, no stop for fuel. But what is going to happen is the rates are going to go through the roof, and people are not prepared for that. When you have a self-driving truck, you have to think of the time and the value that it's going to bring to the industry, which is going to make raw materials and inflation shoot through the roof. We're in New York State. I'm in New York State. At any moment, a gallon of milk could be $10 because when you're talking raw materials, cutting time in half, all the things that you have to look at with a self-driving truck, they're going to put um, the value behind that, and with value comes higher price. So that's something that's going to play a role too that you need to think about within the industry. Um, Addressing driver shortages. A lot of these guys, there's so many good carriers out there, so many. I work with a lot of carriers who have been doing this 20, 30 years, and they know the market way better than I do. I wasn't even around when they first started in the trucking industry. And that is so detrimental to watch for a self-driving truck to take a position of someone who's been operating for 20, 30 years. These drivers, him and her, are extremely smart. They know the market, they know their trucks, they know the things that, pivot in the industry. They know the pros and cons. They have the human like interaction that can literally save a van full of a family of four on the highway. I just don't think that AI and technology can do that. You are carrying over 40,000 pounds of freight, and you are trying to bring it down the highway 65 to 70 miles per hour with no human judgment. So what's going to happen in the industry is we're going to lose a lot of people. They want to run on the highway selfless with no drivers. Then what they want to do is, after the truck merges off of the highway, hits their exit, what they want to do is basically the driver will get back on when it's time to ride in the street. So when it's time to do the final delivery and the self-driving truck merges off of the highway, what will happen is the driver will then get in and finish the rest of the transit and finish the rest of the transit on the streets. So it's not going to be 100% self-driving, but it will be a majority of self-driving trucks are going to be out here. And what's going to happen is once they come off the highway, a driver will finish the final mile delivery. So they're only going to be self-driving on the highway. Good morning. I know one thing for me, I'm going to be honest about. I am going to up my contingent cargo insurance based off of the fact that um, if I am operating with a self-driving truck, and I'm going to try to avoid it for as long as I can, and that's just to be honest with you, I'm going to try to avoid the situation of operating with a self-driving truck as long as I can. It might not work out for long, but the simple fact is that it's it's going to be rough. It's something that's going to happen regardless of what we like or what we think. The people that are in position, they have the ability to make this go through and make it work out. But my contingent cargo insurance is going to go through the roof. I want to get the highest premium policy because I want to make sure that I'm protected for all costs. For all costs. If that self-driving truck wants to, decide to break down and my freight is stuck. Another thing that's worrisome too, and I have to be honest, is a self-driving truck holding all this freight. If it breaks down on the highway, what's stopping it from cargo theft? What's stopping someone from opening that trailer and taking all of the commodity? Not a driver. There's no driver that will be able to stop that. Yeah, a driver will not be in harm's way, but a unit breaking down on the highway, cargo theft can be one of the biggest things that can happen. There will be no situation. How long is that truck going to sit for? That's one big question because cargo theft is literally at its highest volume that it's ever been, since 2020. And another thing, contingent cargo insurance. Mine, I'm going to get the highest premium because there's a huge, huge risk with self-driving trucks. If it makes a mistake, if it turns wrong, if wire disconnects, I just don't think that AI can handle that type of visibility like they say that it can. So it is a pro, but for me, it's a con. I want to make sure that I am available to be able to make a cargo claim if I have to, but at the highest risk possible. Contingent cargo insurance, the best premium that they can offer me, I'm going to purchase that because I want to make sure that my customers' freight is safe. We talked about this earlier. I don't like the fact that you're not going to be able to make an interaction. You're going to be able to basically book freight at the click of a button. You're not going to have to say good morning, how are you, how are things going. Self-driving trucks are going to be the new thing in 2020, and they're going to start putting them on the road 2026. January 2026, we're going to start seeing a lot of them. My advice is stay clear until they can work out the kinks. A vehicle being self-driving is completely different than a 53-foot semi-trailer. Even if you're carrying, let's say you're not carrying a full truckload, let's say you're carrying 12,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds, that is still a lot of weight for a truck to operate without a human involved. Okay, so those are some pros and cons that we're going to deal with within the industry. AI is taking over, and that's just something that we're going to have to pivot and accept. And by pivoting and accepting that, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. I know in my freight brokerage, I'm going to have to pivot. And it's something that, I've done multiple times since 2019. I mean, I've pivoted so much within my company. That's what got me here today. But it's just something that we're not getting around. Okay. Elon Musk made sure that, these self-driving trucks are a thing and they're not going anywhere. One of the pros was that it's going to be lower operating costs. But when you think about that, lower operating costs, the rates are going to go through the roof. So let's look at some more pros. Pro number one, lower operating costs, increased efficiency, improved safety, fuel efficiency. I do agree with fuel efficiency because, you're driving a battery operated vehicle, addressing driver shortage and predictable scheduling. Predictable scheduling, anything can go wrong at any time. I think people are putting way too much hope into these self-driving trucks. Yeah, it's a predictable schedule, but what if something goes wrong? Are we thinking about that? If something goes wrong, some of the cons are job losses, high upfront costs, regulating and legal challenges, technology limits, cyber risk, public and industry resistance. Okay, so those are some pros and cons of self-driving trucks, and this is not the first time I'm going to touch on this topic. I will be back to talk about it more, based on the fact that this is a very popular topic within the trucking industry. It's not going anywhere. Self-driving trucks are coming, and they're coming very quick. So, my advice: if you're going to open a freight brokerage, I suggest that at this point you start operating and factoring in some thought about self-driving trucks and how you're going to operate without human interaction involved. That's a big one. Can you sustain the storm of self-driving trucks taking over? Because coming into the industry right now, or coming into the industry at any point, really is a challenge. Within my company, I was in the red for the first year. A lot of freight brokerages fail because of capital. And if you're not aware, you're not doing the research, the things that you need to do to build this company, then it's going to be a challenge. So we're going to stay sharp. We're going to touch on topics live, and I will go live randomly until I can consistently find a date, and a time. And you're also going to start seeing interviews from me as well. We're going to interview some truck drivers, some other freight brokers within the industry. So I love you. It is a beautiful Sunday morning, uh, 6:40 a.m. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to you this morning. I love you, and don't forget to live, laugh, load.